Hey y'all, Will here, otherwise Zelray, and today we're in Borderlands 4. There's been a lot of mixed reception on this game. I'm going to be going over that, my own personal opinions playing the game while testing out a new build. So my gameplay is going to be a little bit weird at the start because I forgot what I actually put on my character right before I made this video. But let's get into it. Two things to note. I am going to be doing a relatively spoiler-free video here, so don't worry about the story, none of that. We are going through the first vault. I'm going to be killing the boss a few times. This is all the content you're going to see, so you get to stay relatively clean on any sort of story if you're into that. Secondly, I'm running a 2080 graphics card when the minimum requirements are 3080. They recommended low graphics. I bumped it up to high after changing a few settings. So that's the performance that you're seeing. I try to make it look as good as possible to give you a relative idea of what you can expect on a low-end gaming PC. Let's get right into it with the first topic, which is the negative review and reception on Borderlands 4 launch, especially day one. On Steam alone, we saw between a 35 and 40% negative review percentage. However, since then, we are now roughly at a 65 and rising percent. Mostly all the negative reviews are around performance one way or another, be it FPS drops, be it stuttering, be it lag, freezing, crashes, etc. On the back burner, probably the biggest issue is UI, and that's it. People are complaining a little bit about the story and about the gameplay, but that's very minimal. I see a lot of people actually really liking the game when you take away the performance related issues, and it seems over the past couple days of the game being out, we've had 2 performance patches already, and I'm sure more to come. For myself, on performance, as I said, I'm below minimum specs. I have not had a single crash. I have not had any freeze ups. I have had stuttering in specific locations, and that's because they have technology in the background that loads up the next section of the open world, and I can tell where those sections are loading up from. It is very easy to tell. That's the worst part of stuttering, but compared to a game like Monster Hunter Wilds, it's not nearly as bad as that as you're loading in a new area. One of the things I am most critical about is if you want to get the largest version of the game, you have to shell out $130. This includes all the DLC. The DLC alone is roughly $100 on top of the purchase price of the base game being $70 minimum. The game is expensive. Games are becoming more expensive, and I think I can't notate this enough. While inflation is absolutely a thing, we have to pay as a consumer and a person more on everything. Our utilities go up, our food goes up, everything goes up, and everyone has to fight for that chunk of money they want, and entertainment usually goes on the back burner. So you're going to see more and more games trying to become more and more expensive to make up for the fact that they're making technically less money compared to previous years when you're looking at actual purchasing power. But $130 edition of a game is absolutely insane. However, on the other hand, trying to say that it's not worth it, I've been really trying to grasp at critical issues to complain about, and there aren't that many this far into the game. I have to play further to actually get to the point to really bust the price or not for what the game might be able to offer as I get through the campaign. Now, with all that said, while I'm not being very critical of the game, I'm not saying that there aren't things that Borderlands 4 needs to get better at. They need to continue coming out with performance patches to make sure people are happy with how their hardware operates when playing the game. The UI needs to become a little bit more easy to operate, especially within the mission menus and the map menus. And in general, I think overall in the UI, they've added a lot more bells and whistles to make things easier for the player, but it's a lot to understand at the start. Whenever something is said en masse and has good information to back it up, developers need to look at that and figure out the best way to make those issues less glaring. So that's always the thing when it comes to reviews. If there's something being critiqued and it's able to be backed up and replicated and shown, things need to be fixed in a way to make it less jarring. But that's pretty much my negative portion of the video. We're going to be going on to positives and things that I see in the game that make it worthwhile. And there's quite a few different things with that. Okay, on to the positives. And with this to start, I will say that I've enjoyed Borderlands 4 greatly beyond what I thought I would. And myself as a gamer, I really appreciate a challenge. Maybe not like the hardest difficulty in the world, but I don't want to just walk through and steamroll anything in front of me from the moment I turn the game on. I like thinking a little bit, making choices, making builds that work for me, and having a payoff by doing so. I felt pretty disillusioned within previous releases on the Borderlands franchise, especially when it comes to the pre-sequel, Borderlands 3, and also Wonderlands. The games felt like they went the easy route, and what that did for me is I didn't want to play the game again, because if I just had to walk through and shoot things, I'm not really using the characters as much as I could and having to focus on their strengths and also their weaknesses. In this game, I feel like I do. Along with that, Borderlands offers 3 difficulties: an easy, medium, and hard, or an easy, normal, and hard. I'm playing on hard mode. It means that I had to be more attentive to the elemental affinities and the systems that the game brings into play, and also I take more damage. On the turnaround of that, I get more loot. So you have options to make it, you know, tailored to your own preference. And when it comes to the generalities, I find that this makes me want to theory craft my character. I want to make my character stronger. And that makes me more interested in the other characters that I'm not playing as well, because I want to see what their strengths and weaknesses are as well. When I first started playing Rafa, which is the character I'm playing, I wanted to go a melee build. I found that I didn't have enough defenses to make the melee build work, so I switched over to a grenade build. And as I said early on, this is a brand new build that I put together with some loot that I found. And it has some negatives, like namely my turret throwing grenades that I walk over and I get destroyed by. It happens all the time. As long as there's enemies around, I'm usually pretty okay. Another thing that happens is when my shields go down, grenades appear. So I'm trying to find the right items to make it work, but overall I feel that the damage is substantial and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And outside of just watching out for traps that my character is setting for himself, it's very effective. And when I'm looking at Rafa, I can see a designated melee build, a sniper build, and a grenade explosion build. And I'm sure there's a few other ones that you can make too. There's a lot of options to bring your character, and I think if you narrow in and you get all your stats to align with that, you have the opportunity to make so many different characters off of one character, let alone the 4 characters that they offer. That's a big thing. I really enjoy it. It feels good. Next thing I want to talk about is the bosses, and specifically the mechanics behind the bosses. We're about to go into a boss in the video here, which is a great way to start it out. I have done this whole vault before, so I had to kind of restart the boss fight by spending a little bit of money. But bosses in general have mechanics that sometimes you don't have to worry about depending on your character build, and other mechanics that you absolutely have to worry about no matter what your character is. I like that, you know, minimum and maximum where, oh, I can just avoid that or not worry about that. And other mechanics where like, okay, now I have to actually pay attention, because if I don't, that's most likely going to end with failure every time. I enjoy the modern feeling of the boss fights in general. Just like right here, you have a mechanic that you have to get off the ground because it will kill you over time. It's slow-ish, but it will take you out. And on top of that, you have a mechanic, DPS race, to get him out of the little shell. Now, the shell doesn't heal him or anything like that, from what I can tell, which would be even more of a priority to do it. But if you do take it down, you get a really big DPS phase where he's just laying on the ground and you can take him out. There's a lot of cool things that happen that I enjoy, and I usually don't see in many games. Most games, when they have bosses, they're glorified enemies. that isn't that fun for me. The next thing I want to talk about is the open world segment of Borderlands, and I think there's a lot of thought on open world in general. A lot of people tend to criticize open world because it doesn't offer a concise experience and it feels bland at times, especially when you're having to travel from place to place. And that's fair. That's okay. I think that traveling in Borderlands, even when it was like area based, you still had this issue where it took a lot of time to get from place to place. But in the open world in Borderlands 4, you have an easy time traveling, and they really gave you a ton of travel options. I felt a good comparison would be if you played Far Cry and you understood the movement and exploration aspects of Far Cry and enjoyed those. Borderlands 4 does that in a good similarity, on top of keeping traditional Borderlands feeling, where you're boss hunting, you're finding loot, you're min-maxing, etc. Okay, that was a lot of talking. I got all my thoughts out starting on my first 12 hours of Borderlands 4. I want to do a quick TLDR, and this is going to just wrap up the pros and cons, and I'm also going to have like a middle ground section. So on cons, we have the current performance, especially on high-end rigs, is not performing as it should. They are working on fixing this, but a lot of people are complaining about this. It also goes with the fact that a lot of people don't think that the graphics should be taking up that much power. Secondly, we have a really clunky UI, but it's very serviceable. It has a lot of things in there to make your life easier. It's just hard to go from place to place. And I'm usually pretty good about not getting tied up in this, but it is difficult for myself, and I find that a lot of other people are saying it's a little bit hard to navigate on the average. Going to a pro section of this, the increased difficulty feels great. It allows for the next pro, which I'm going to say is theory crafting. Making builds on a game that's easy doesn't feel as nice as making builds that work on a game that's a little bit more difficult. It feels better and you get more invested into it, and that's a good thing. We have bosses. I can break bosses into kind of like low-grade bosses and high-grade bosses. High-grade bosses have a lot of mechanics that you have to pay close attention to, compared to low-grade bosses that have mechanics that if you're strong enough or you know a way to get around it, you don't have to worry about them as much. It's a nice mechanical shift where you don't see it as much in games currently, especially shooters and the like, where they like to take a easier route and make enemies just feel like just loot bags and nothing else. The next thing I want to say is loot. Loot isn't super common, and I like that. When you have loot that's common and you get it all the time, you're not really caring about it anymore. In this game, when a purple drops, and especially when a legendary drops, there are rare occasions and you want to see what it is. You want to see if it can help you. And I felt previously that wasn't the case. We're going to go into like the middle ground. There's going to be a couple things in here. Number one, the price point. The $70 price point, I think, is absolutely fair to any player. You're going to get your $70 out if you like the Borderlands games in general. However, on the other end, the biggest pack that you can spend on, the $130 pack, you can say it's optional, but if you want to see everything that the game is going to give you in the future, DLCs and the like, that's $130. And that's off-putting to so many people. And I think that you have to be really careful when you're asking these big prices, which is becoming a little bit more common, but it's still weird to a lot of people to see. On top of the middle ground, we're going to have open world. Open world, when you have everything unlocked, feels great. You can go where you want to pretty darn quick. And when you're exploring the open world, you have a ton of things to unlock and objectives to find, which keeps you busy. However, on the negatives of the open world, it's a big world. No matter how you dice it, it's a big world, and unlocking this big world to make it travelable takes a lot of time and effort compared to what you feel it should. So that's everything I wanted to talk about on the TLDR. Let me know what you think, and if you have any opinions that might differ from mine, or if I kind of hit it on the head here. I will be wanting to make more Borderlands 4 videos, and I want to work on builds and my theory crafting and my min-maxing, which I always enjoy in these types of games when they feel good. But currently right now I'm just trying to push through the campaign, which has taken me a lot of time. Actually, I'm actually enjoying my time in the game, and overall, even though I don't really care too much about story and dialogue, I felt like it's not bad in this game, and it's not nearly as dicey as it has been in the past. It's still like funky Borderlands 4 humor, but it's not nearly as in your face with it as it has been in the past. So thank you everyone for watching. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to put a like on the video. If you have something that you thought caught your interest, put a comment down below. I appreciate you guys' time. I'll catch you soon with another Borderlands 4 video. Later.